Hey there friends, it's Missy again. Thanks so much for stopping by today. I have a new layout to share for the Paige Evans design team, and I'm going to mostly be using Paige's Wonders collection for this. I've got some papers here. Some of these I have not used yet. Some of them I've already cut into for other pages. I love the pinks and oranges. And then the blue paper there is from Paige's Go the Scenic Route collection. I pulled that from the 12 by 12 paper pad, and I just love this color scheme, so that's what I'm going to go with. I'm going to do something different for my background. I know I've been on a white cardstock background kick for what seems like forever, so I'm going to use a pattern paper for my background, and I like this one. This is from Wonders. It's paper number 3. Because there's still a lot of white area, but it's also very busy. It's got some pinks and some blues on it. And this is what I like to do when I'm going to do mixed media on a pattern paper. I like to use white gesso because it's white and it's going to create some nice faded, cloudy, hazy effects on the paper. And it's also going to protect the paper and prep it for any liquid or inks or anything like that I'm going to add to it. And I'm not trying to cover up the pattern. I'm just trying to fade it out a little bit, just kind of mute it so it's not so busy. You can see there how you can still see it. It's just a little more on the faded side. And I have these two cute pictures of me and my daughter. And since she's looking toward the left, I know that I'm going to base my design with the photos on the right-hand side of the page somehow. And I had pulled out all these papers and I wasn't sure what I wanted to do with them. Did I want to make paper strips or circles, or did I want to use a cut file? I finally decided to do some punching. And so I pulled out this giant heart punch from my stash. I think I got that from Michael's. It's been a while. I don't even remember. But I kind of just went to punching. I punched a couple of hearts from each of these papers and go from there. And this layout is going to take a journey, as most of my layouts do, as far as how to get started. And like I said, I want the photos on the right side because we're kind of looking toward the left, or that's the way my daughter's face is going. And I just could not, for the life of me, get a design going with these hearts. I don't know. I played around with them. I tucked them under the photos. I lined them up horizontally, vertically. Yeah. Does this ever happen to you where you have an idea and then you start to play around with it and it turns out that you really didn't have an idea at all? You know, you're like, wait a minute, this is not turning out. So I just, I keep doing it. And this is a lot of, this is something that happens to me a lot. You know, sometimes I just have to turn off my camera because it takes me so long to come up with an idea. But, so I just kept going around playing with the hearts. Finally just turned the camera off and took a break and decided let's just work on the background, because you know that's my favorite part. So what I'm going to do for the background is start with some distress oxides, and I love this technique of just scraping the pad right across the paper. And I'm using, let's see, let me pull out my colors here, a combination of faded jeans and broken china for the blue part, and then seedless preserves and picked raspberry for the pink part, and then spice marmalade for the orange. And I did not want to completely turn this into watercolor. I like the look of the stripes, and I kind of wanted to preserve that while at the same time making some of it look like it got wet. So I'm going to very carefully with my brush kind of come in with some water and just tap it and kind of watch what happens. This effect really only works if you use gesso first. It works beautifully, and I love this technique because the gesso sort of separates the water and the color from the actual paper for a little bit, so you have time to move the color around, and if you don't like it, you could get a napkin and dab it up right quick and kind of, in a sense, erase it. But I love how this is looking. Like I said, I wanted to kind of liquefy some of it, but then also keep the idea of the streaks of the ink pads. And I'm also going to mix in a little bit of shimmers. I dabbed in a little bit of a color called Ruby. It's more of kind of like a reddish pink color, because the spice marmalade wasn't exactly the right orange shade to match that orange pattern paper. So I just played around with mixing some colors together to kind of get it to where I wanted it. This is an orangey color called Peachy Keen from Shimmers. That's a Colorings. And then this is a Shimmers Vibes called Mustard Seed. And I love mixing and matching Distress Oxides with my shimmers. It's so much fun to just pull out all of your favorite mixed media things and mix and match. You're going to get some unique colors. You're going to get some unique looks. And I love this. I think this looks pretty cool. Looks kind of messy and splotchy, but you can still see where I drug the ink pad. So let's see what I got. I'm going to come back with the photos, and I still don't know how I'm going to arrange the photos or the hearts yet. I figured that I didn't have enough of the Distress Oxide, so I'm going to add a little bit more to make it a little bit more of a bigger area, because remember, I am going to add the hearts in and the photos in, so some of this is going to get covered up, so I want to make sure that there's enough showing that you can still see it. So I'm going to kind of just do the same thing that I did, just add in a little bit more on the edges here. And I did add in a new color on the orange part. I added in Wild Honey. It's also an orange color, but it's got a bit more of a, gosh, I don't even know how to describe it. I'm terrible at describing colors. I just call it like I see it. It's kind of more of a golden orange, if that makes sense. When it comes out, it's more of a yellowish orange color, but if I don't like the way it looks, I can just add something on top of it to change it. But I like how this is going so far, and you can still see all the pattern on the background, but it's just not super busy anymore. And I love that effect. So I'm going to come back in with some of those shimmers and add some splatters. I think that's the Peachy Keen color. And then the Mustard Seed color. These are some of my favorite Shimmers colors. I think I use Mustard Seed all the time. I have a ton of shimmers in my rolling cart, but the ones that I use most frequently, I keep really, they're literally, when I reach my arm across the paper, they're right there because I use them all the time. And so they're always close. This blue color is called Deep Blue Sea. I love that. It's kind of a navy, but a little bit of a aqua-ish tone to it. All right, so now I'm going to work on the hearts. What I decided was that these hearts were just too big. So I'm going to trim them. I felt like a little kindergartner here making snowflakes. Remember when you used to do that? So I'm going to trim all these hearts so where I have a smaller solid heart and then a thinner outline of the like an open heart. So I've got the small pink, and then I'm going to trim around the edges of what's left over, and then I have a nice little open heart. And I like this because I'm making them different sizes, and they're not all 100% perfect like the punch made them, you know, perfect hearts. So I played around off camera. I like this. I don't know if I love it, but this is closer to the idea that I had in my mind when I started this page, but it's going to change yet again. But until then, I'm going to work on a little bit of layering behind the photos. This is just some plain old white tissue paper. I'm not going to do a lot of layering behind the photos as far as pattern papers go, because since the photos are black and white, and I've got all this color going on the background, I feel like the photos stand out plenty. But then when I looked at the background, you see there on the right where the blue and the pink match. I love how that looks there. You can kind of see where the ink pad kind of got lighter and it looks just kind of scratchy. I didn't want to cover that up. So I decided to stack the photos vertically so you can still see that little area on the right side of the top photo. I love that. So I decided to stack the photos and then kind of work the hearts in around that. And this happens to me a lot. When I make a background, I love how it looks, and then I'm sad I'm going to cover it up with the pictures. And I'm like, wait a minute, that's the whole point of making a scrapbook page, is to showcase your pictures. And I know going into it that I'm going to cover it up, but still, sometimes the background turns out so cool that I don't want to cover it up, but it's going to get covered up. And if all else fails, I can just make another background if I decide that, you know, it's just too good to cover up. I can always do it again, even though it's never going to look the same twice, but that's all right. Anyway, I want to glue all of these hearts down, and I'm only going to glue down the center where I kind of bent them to cut them, because I want to stitch through the centers. So I'm going to make sure all the hearts are glued down. That's not going to change now. That's the way it is. No more changing my mind. I am going to add some white splatters. I love the effect of this. I think it just kind of creates a little bit of a distressed look, and it kind of lightens things up a little bit. It's crazy how just white splatters can make it look completely different, but I love that. And that's just white acrylic paint. Love that effect. So I'm going to come back in with the photos and go from there. I am going to pop the photos up with some adhesive foam. I did not pop up any of the hearts because, like I said, I'm going to stitch through those using my sewing machine here in just a second. So I want to make sure that there's no foam underneath those. They're perfectly flat. So I did that off camera. I just did a straight stitch with some metallic gold, and I did it through each of the hearts, the solid hearts and the open hearts, but you can see there how they kind of bend up off the page. I love that. Just creates some fun dimension and some depth. And I love how this background turned out. Yep. And every time you do a background like this, it's going to look a little different. You know, it's going to be its own unique background every time. Now this is Jen Hadfield Gold Glitter Spray. Since I have gold thread, I'm going to add some gold splatters and then come back in with the photos. And before I glue those down, I'm going to work on adding some thread. I love the texture that this adds. I love the pops of color, and I actually have thread to match that orange. I was so happy. So I'm going to add a little bit of orange kind of down there in the orange section. I do my best to embellish tone on tone on this layout, which means I'm going to try to keep all the orange things together, all the blue things together, and not scatter the colors around. So I'm going to add a little bit of blue thread up here at the top. Even though you can't really see it, I didn't have the perfect blue color to match. So I just used the closest one that I had, and you can't really see it. I can see it in person, but on the camera here, it just adds something, some little detail. You know, I get a lot of questions about what's up with the thread. Why do you use the thread? I don't get the thread. And it's just not something that you have to get. It's just something that I like to use. It's something that adds texture. It adds interest. It adds a fun little layer of detail. And yeah, I always want the thread to be subtle, you know. That's why, like here, it doesn't even really play a big part. It's just once you start to move your eye around the page, you see the thread and you're like, oh, that's kind of cool. At least that's how I view it. I do pull some things from the Go the Scenic Route collection. I've got some stickers out. I'm just playing around with different things. I've got all the Wonders things out. This sticker sheet is from Go the Scenic Route. And I'm just trying to play around to see if there's anything I want to use. I'm looking for small things at this point. This is a label die cut from Wonders. And I thought maybe I could use this as a little bit of a layer of some sort, kind of behind the photos. Very subtle, kind of peeking just along the edges there. Yeah, I went through all the ephemera die cuts from Wonders. This little frame, I'm going to cut it up because I like this beautiful day phrase, and it has all the colors in it that I have going on this layout. I'm going to try to use that somewhere, not sure where. And then I try one of these little banner stickers from Wonders. It didn't match, so I don't use it. These little hearts I cut out of a die cut several layouts ago, wound up not using them. This piece is from Wonders, and I'm just going to cut out the word home. And I wanted to use it because it's orange and it matches the orange area. And then I found the word life on the epoxy phrase stickers. So we're going to go with home life down at the bottom. This is another ephemera die cut that I'm going to use over here on the left. So I'm going to have like a little bit of a blue layer on the left and then a pink layer on the right. Again, trying to stay within the color blocks. This I want to use right here on top of the photos. It says today, and it's a puffy word sticker from Go the Scenic Route. And I felt like it would look okay on top of the photo there since there's a lot of white space on the bottom photo above our heads. kind of breaks the photos up, and I liked how that looks. So I'm going to just stick it right onto the photos there. And I like that because I don't feel like it takes away from the photos. It's not interfering with any of our faces or anything like that. And then I am going to add a little bit of foam underneath this part of the orange heart, because home is going to be on top of it, and I didn't want the heart to be completely flat because I still want it to be dimensional. So for this one heart, I'm going to pop up the word home and then a little bit underneath the heart there, so it kind of stands up off the page a little bit. And I'm looking for small things. The big elements of the layout are complete, so I'm not looking for anything huge here. I'm going to use Beautiful Day at the bottom of the photo there, and then I'm going to glue down Life, because nothing ever wants to stick to gesso. So always add glue, even if it's a sticker, or if it even if it's a sticker or has sticky on the back. Your best bet is to glue it down anyway on top of gesso. This is another pattern paper from Wonders. It's paper number 24, that little cut apart 3x4 card sheet. I'm going to cut off this part, just has the word Smiles, and use that up in the blue section because it matched and I liked it and we were smiling. So that's going to go up there. And then from the same sheet, I'm going to go to this little yellow area and cut out this tiny little pink hello. I love doing this. I love looking through papers and die cuts and looking for little tiny detail things to fussy cut out. And I'm going to add that hello right above the today on right there above the where the photo has the sticker on it or the word on it. And then I'm trying to pull in a little bit more of the dark pink color. So I'm going to mix pink and some red thread to kind of tuck under there in between the two photos to the left. I haven't added the red in there, but I'm going to add that in just a minute, because sometimes when I don't have the right color, I mix two thread colors together and it comes across as the color that I'm wanting. These are the Puffy Stickers from Wonders. I'm going to use a couple of these little mandala circle star shape pieces. That's not where they're going to go though. I'm going to wind up moving those. Kind of using them closer to the photos as just little details kind of peeking around the edges. I've made so many layouts with this collection. I have like odds and ends left. So I'm looking for any little piece that could work. And I like that better. They're very subtle. You don't even really see them when you first look at the layout. It's more of one of those details that you see as you slow down and just look at everything slowly. Popped up Smiles, glued that down. And then I do add in these two darker pink hearts because I feel like it just kind of brings that dark pink color home, since I've got that little layer on the right side of the bottom photo. And then I'm going to come back in with some of the shimmer sprays and splatter a couple of more little ink blobs here and there. I'm using Vibe Sweetheart, which is more of that lighter pink color, and then Spritz Ruby, which is that darker reddish pink color. And then down in the orange section, the mustard seed color, the peachy keen color, blending those two colors together. Also added some of the blue. And then almost done here, I'm going to use my T-square ruler to do my journaling over here on the left, because that was the perfect little spot for it. And at first I wrote it using my gold metallic pen, but you couldn't really see it, so I do go back over it using my black Sharpie, and I feel like it stands out a little bit more. And then the last thing I'm going to do, I pulled out my stash of sequins from Spiegel Mom's Scraps, and I'm going to add in some sequins and matching colors just for some little pops of color and sparkle and shine. And that's it. That's the final layout. I really like how it turned out, even though I, struggled with coming up with an idea of where to start. I like how it finished. And I like that you can still see the pattern in the pattern paper, but it still doesn't overtake the photos. That's always kind of like my hesitancy with using pattern paper as a background, is it's going to be so busy, it's going to compete with everything else. And so I like to have my open space and my white space just to make sure that everything has room to breathe and has room to stand out. And I feel like I achieved that here, even though this background started out kind of busy. So I hope this gives you some ideas to try. Try pattern paper as a background. It's definitely doable. And I had a lot of fun making this. See how the ink's there? I love how that turned out right there. Let me know if you have any questions. I enjoyed this. I'm going to link the two collections that I used down below, as well as the shimmers. And I hope you guys have a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.